fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Voyager class Autobot Ratchet from the Transformers Studio Series 86 line from Hasbro. Now this is a repaint slash slight retool of the Studio Series Ironhide that we've had previously. I think this looks pretty good. I think it's a vast improvement over the Earthrise and Siege Ratchets that we've had, and will kind of probably be my definitive Ratchet going forward. You can see he is number 23rd in the line. Over here we have some close-up artwork of Ratchet screaming as he attacks frantically in his final moments. Same artwork over here, but a much wider shot. Nothing really going on the bottom. Up top, we just have the Transformers, the movie logo, and spinning around to the back, we have some nice product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode, as well as the backdrop of the setting of his brutal murder. So, I'm going to go ahead, get Ratchet out of the packaging here, and we'll take a closer look. Here's Ratchet with the backdrop that comes included with the figure. I think they did a pretty good job of recreating the scene. It looks very faithful to the movie. Obviously, we all know Ratchet's not going to have the best time in this scene, but they did a nice job with the backdrop. He fits well and looks pretty good. Here is Ratchet out of the packaging. He looks fantastic. Now, I'm just going to apologize up front. This figure is so bright, stark white that I'm sure it's going to throw off my white balance, but I'll do the best that I can. He just looks really, really nice. I mean, it's a really nice, clean robot mode. A little bit of kibble down here on the legs. But overall, I think it looks really nice. As I mentioned previously, it is a repaint slash retool of Ironhide. So let me go ahead and bring him in here. And you can see the similarities. I mean, it's basically the same mold. There's a new head, some new paint here on the shoulders, and they did paint the fists, although I think Ironhide's fists are painted gray. So either way, looks really good. Nice to have them together and maybe just use them in Season 1 and Season 2. Because they don't get much time in the movie, as you guys know. But yeah, they look good together. Very happy to have these. Like I said, they're kind of the definitive versions of these characters. The Siege ones were okay because they were kind of being their own thing with the Cybertronian modes. And then you have like the Earthrise ones, which I thought were kind of a lazy redo of the Siege ones and just didn't really work all that well. Both of these are really nice, and I think he looks really good. Now, the original G1 design has just the red cross on the shoulders, which I think is now like a trademark of the Red Cross, so I don't think they can do that anymore. So the option was to either just put Autobot symbols there, or go with this kind of like generic rescue symbol, which is what they've opted for. It's okay. Obviously, I would prefer to just have the Red Cross, but I understand why they can't do that, so it's kind of a nice compromise. Head sculpt looks pretty good. He's got the large kind of wing on the crest there. Eyes are painted nicely. The face is a nice silver paint. Looks really sharp. Now you can see right away that they went for the translucent windows again. I was really hoping that they were just going to move on and stick with the painted windows, because as we know, and I'll bring him back here for a second, first we got this version of Ironhide, and then they did the blasted dead version of Ironhide, which I don't know why this is a thing. I don't really care for it. I did not pick it up. But they packed that with a dead version of Prowl. And that version of Ironhide, they got rid of the translucent plastic and just painted the windows blue, and also gave him the stripe on the side that he's supposed to have. And it was a much nicer paint scheme. And I was really kind of hoping that that's what they were going to do going forward. But instead, they opted to give us the translucent plastic again for Ratchet, which is fine. I'm not a huge fan of translucent plastic. I really like the look of having the light blue painted windows, and I'd like it to be consistent for all of my Autobots, kind of across the line. We got Brawn, and I'm pretty sure he had painted windows, and I would not be surprised if we're going to get another Target exclusive Dead 2-pack of Ratchet and Brawn, so we'll have to wait and see. And I'm assuming at that point they'll probably paint his windows and give him the red stripe on the side, because spoilers, this guy does not have the red stripe, which is kind of a bummer. As you can see, if I lift this up, yeah, so no red stripe. And I just feel like they both need that stripe on the side, because it really just gives the vehicle mode a pop of color that it desperately needs. So unfortunately, not the case here. I would honestly, if they did like a 2-pack of these guys where they weren't blasted, they didn't have that battle damage, but just had the painted windows and the stripes on the side, I would probably rebuy it. I do really like that look, but I don't like the blasted, battle damage on the chest. So This kind of has a part of it that I don't like in the translucent plastic. The other one has a much better paint scheme, but I don't like the battle damaged aspect of it. So either way, I'm not really getting 100% what I want. I would much rather have them not battle damaged, so that's why I've opted for these translucent window versions. But if they did a non-battle damaged version with the painted windows and the stripes on the side, I would probably double dip on that. I just don't know why they can't give us the stripe. My only guess is because there's so much paint needed to paint the translucent plastic. That's where the paint budget goes. At least that's my guess. And so that's why they have to get rid of the stripe. Whereas if they mold it out of white and just paint the windows, it's significantly less to paint. So that's my guess on that. But yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, we will move Ironhide off to the side once again, and we'll run through Ratchet's articulation real quick. Now, if you've handled Ironhide at all, it's going to be exactly the same. Head can swivel from side to side. There is a little bit of up and down, but not really a ton. It's mostly because the head's going to rotate into the torso for the transformation. So you have a little bit of wiggle up and down, but it's mostly just side to side. You have a nice swivel here in the shoulder, as well as a hinge, which is nice, and they've put that plastic in there so it's not hollow. So when you have the pin is here for the shoulder, so when it goes up, it looks like, you know, it's not a big hollow empty space. I appreciate that. I think that looks pretty cool. You got the bicep swivel. You got 90 degrees in the elbow, although it can kind of bend backwards a little bit as well, because we're going to do that for the transformation. You got swivel in the wrist, and you have these really nice red painted fists, which I appreciate, because a lot of times they just leave Ratchet with white hands, but in the animation model he did have red hands, so that's nice. You have a nice waist swivel here. This little piece folds up. Now, I really wish that these were individual. I wish this was stationary, because when you lift this up, you really see, you know, just the mushroom pegs there for the legs. So I kind of wish this middle section stayed put and then just these flaps flipped up, but what are you going to do? I'm sure it was cheaper to mold one piece. But it can kick pretty far forward, kick pretty far back, kick pretty far out to the side. So really nice range of motion there on the hips. Got your thigh swivel, got your 90-degree bend in the knees, and then you got your ankle tilt, and then you got a little bit of forward and back as well. So really nice articulation. It's a good looking figure. For me, it would be absolutely perfect if it was the molded white plastic with the painted windows. That would be 100% perfect to me. But this is what I'll have to deal with until they eventually decide to stop making sets of them being destroyed. Which, why do I want that? I still don't get that. But in any case, it's a really nice looking figure. I don't have the Earthrise one to compare it to. But you guys have seen that before, and I don't know, they had that big shield piece that had to sit on top. I hated that. And even when you had that, the feet still stuck out the back. It looked terrible. This guy solves all those problems, and it's just a really fun looking figure. One other thing I wanted to talk about, obviously he has his two guns here. You can store these on the back if you like. You have these spots here that they can peg into, so if you want to store a gun there on the back. Alternatively, let me put this back in his hand. If you don't like the look of the light bars down here, now the reason they're attached here is because this is where they're going to be in vehicle mode, but if you don't like the look of that, you can detach them and peg them into this same place. So if you want the light bar to be on his back, you can absolutely do that. It's very simple to just pop them off and pop them up here. So you have that option as well, whatever you prefer. Personally, for me, I don't mind them down here, and then this way I don't have to move them when I get to vehicle mode, so I usually just leave them there. But yeah, he's a good looking figure. I think they did a nice job with him. Let's go ahead and get to his transformation. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, come around to the back. You can swivel this section down and then kind of lift this section up at the abdomen. There we go. Unpeg that there. That will allow you to open this section up, which can be a little tight. Maybe lift the head section up a little bit. There we go. So that's going to be kind of the front roof of the car. Flip that up, and then that's a nice wide cavity now that we can rotate the head down into, like this. And then just kind of close that back up. But before you do that, you want to flip out these little sections here. Like so. And these are a little tighter on mine than they are on my Ironhide, but should be okay. As I jinx it, there we go. Just be a little careful with them because they're a little tight. Then you can kind of pop this back up here. It's not going to click all the way into place just yet, but we can take the arms and flip this section around like this and kind of angle the hands down. They're not going to flip all the way down. They kind of stop about there. But we'll bring the other arm in as well. And then put that down. These will actually peg together like this. And then you want to kind of put this at like an angle. So lift this up ever so slightly. There we go. Because this is going to kind of become like the roof, part of the roof anyway. At this point, you want to make sure this is down here and angle this in such a way that you can rotate this section. You kind of have to make sure the wheels clear the waist area. But rotate that around 180. And then you can go ahead and click this up into place there. And then bring this section up and kind of click this into place like so. This still probably won't 100% click into place just yet, but that's fine. Lift this panel up here. So now we are on the legs. We are going to flip open this section, flip out this panel, flip this panel up like that, and then this will come down and flip all the way around and swivel, and then pop into place about there. We can flip this panel forward about 90 degrees and then flip this up, and then this will peg in here like that. So we're going to come around here again, flip this up, bring this to about 90 degrees, flip this little panel up here on the shin, open this up, flip this panel out, bring this all the way up and around, and then that will peg in there. And then you can kind of bring this up, and these two pieces will peg together like so. And then this will come up and peg into these little spots right here and here. So bring this up and clip that in there. And then at this point, we're pretty much done. We're just going to close this up like this and peg that all in and close this one up as well. And just kind of line this up. And then we're going to try to push this part down. Now, this is the part that I always have the most trouble with because the clips are just so weird. The clips are down and they will have to like get into this part here. So you have to kind of push this down while also kind of pushing it up. It's a really weird. I don't know why. I don't know why the clips weren't on the sides. It's just a weird way to do it. But there we go. Pop that all together. And there is Ratchet in our ambulance mode. Here is Ratchet in vehicle mode. It looks great. It rolls very nicely. The one thing I will say, though, and it might not be as apparent on camera as it is in person, but where the white is painted on the translucent plastic versus the actual white plastic itself, it's very noticeable. I think if it had that red stripe here that it desperately needs, that would be kind of the focal point because it'd be that pop of color that would immediately draw the eye, and it would probably take some of the focus away from the different shades of white. But when the whole thing is just white and that's all there is to look at, it becomes very noticeable. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but it's definitely one of those things that I kind of wish that they would just give up on the translucent plastic. Because the other thing is, I don't really want to look inside and see, you know, the different, you know, mechanical parts of the robot. I'd rather it just be painted solid blue so it just looks clean. Plus, that way you'd have much more solid plastic because it would be molded in white instead of translucent plastic, which is notoriously more brittle. And yeah, I don't need to see the screws and the, you know, joints and things. I'd rather it just be normal white plastic, all the same color with the painted blue windows. Plus, then they could paint the back window, because I get that these are all translucent and they can't make this translucent, so I understand why they just left it. But if it was all just white plastic and they were all just painted, you could go ahead and paint this back window, which would be nice. I'm also kind of surprised, like, you know, the back bumper is not painted, because I think it was on Ironhide. But maybe the inclusion of the light bars is where that budget went. I don't know. It does look good with the light bars, and I like the Autobot symbol here on the front, and, you know, the front bumper's painted. That looks really nice. So it is a good alt mode, and it's such an improvement over the Siege and the Earthrise versions. It actually has a back of the van / ambulance. It doesn't have big feet hanging out the back. It doesn't have a ridiculous shield piece that you have to pop on top and then hope it connects in the right spot. And, you know, there is the joint here, which is not the best, but it's definitely better than having like a big block of a different color here on the side. So definitely a vast improvement, and it'll most likely become my kind of definitive Ratchet until they put out the one that's all white plastic with the painted windows, because then I'll probably double dip. But I don't want the battle damaged ones. I don't get why that's a thing. I don't want to celebrate the death of my heroes. That's weird. I want to celebrate how awesome they are when they're winning. Anyway, it's a very nice looking ambulance mode. I'm very happy with it. Oh, one last thing I wanted to show off. You can store the weapons. So you have these two notches down here, and you can peg them on, and then they kind of look like tailpipes, which is kind of cool. Which I think is kind of a fun little storage option. It makes total sense. And I like it quite a bit. So yeah, really nice ambulance mode. I think Ratchet is great. I definitely think he's worth checking out. If you have Ironhide and you liked that mold, you're definitely going to like it again as Ratchet. Really nice paint applications. Again, I do wish they didn't go with the translucent plastic so that they could use some of those paint applications for the red stripe on the side of the vehicle mode, because I feel like that really makes the vehicle mode pop. Otherwise, it's just a lot of white. But the paint applications on the translucent plastic do look good. It is a little noticeable, more so in vehicle mode than in robot mode, when you have the two different, you know, white painted versus white plastic right next to each other. In the robot mode, I don't find it as jarring. I feel like it works pretty well. It's a really nice looking robot mode, honestly. Good articulation. I love the fact that you can transform it into the vehicle mode without any extra pieces. I hated that shield that the Earthrise version had, so this is definitely an improvement in my opinion. And if one day they do eventually give us a non-battle damaged, you know, painted window version, I'll probably go for that, because it does need a little bit more paint in the vehicle mode, and I really just think those painted windows look better in general. But for the meantime, I'm pretty happy with this, and I definitely recommend checking it out. So, love this one. Definitely check it out. If you have the Ironhide, you know what I'm talking about. This is a nice repaint / remold of Ironhide, which was a great mold to begin with. So I'm very happy with this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.